When that second witness took the stand, he was detailing explicit sexual acts. And we noticed during his testimony that Sean Diddy Combs' three daughters got up and left the courtroom. Sean Diddy Combs entered the courtroom in a sweater, looked at his mother and children seated in the gallery and blew a kiss, made a heart shape with his hands and gave a thumbs up. They smiled at him and a few pumped their fists. His family didn't say anything all day as they entered and exited the courthouse.
Why are Black daughters expected to carry the shame of their fathers while being denied the space to grieve, to be flawed, or to even be children? Recently, the public watched his twin daughters, Jessie and Delilah Combs, alongside their sister Chance, walked out of a courtroom silent, heads down, their faces a blend of heartbreak and resignation. The man they once stood beside at music videos, premieres, parties, and everything else you can think of, Sean Diddy Combs, their father, was now at the center of a federal investigation involving trafficking, abuse, and decades-long allegations of exploitation. These girls beforehand were charming audiences on YouTube with back-to-school hauls and TikTok dances, yet now they're navigating a firestorm of scandal, judgment, and trauma. While the legal system has a case on Diddy, public scrutiny has often shifted unfairly to the daughters themselves. Their loyalty is questioned, their silence criticized, their online content ridiculed, and their personhood flattened. Today, I'm going to talk about the emotional labor of Black daughters like the Combs twins. Though I realize that they are rich, privileged girls, I think it's important to look at the expectations of public loyalty, the pain of being daughters in the shadow of public disgrace, and the dangerous cultural tendency to burden Black girls with redemption of their fathers. And again, I just think how this is interesting, even though this still applies to like rich Black girls. From an early age, Black girls are taught to be caretakers, to check on their brothers, to absorb their father's moods, to not talk back, and to keep the family together. This emotional labor, unpaid, unrecognized, and unrelenting, becomes a kind of inheritance. According to a study by Thomas and King, 2021, Black girls disproportionately bear emotional caretaking roles in families, often navigating the emotional aftermaths of adult choices. The Combs daughters' public support of their father mirrors this reality, but they are still still teenagers rather, girls with dreams, maybe anxieties, and the right to exist without managing adult shame. Their YouTube channel, once a place of innocence and creativity, has been flooded with nasty, vile comments calling them brainwashed, spoiled, or silent enablers, and let's not even mention TikTok. Many of these critiques ignore that these girls were raised in a culture where public silence is survival and public defiance is punished. The tragedy here is not just public harassment, it's the erasure of a normal, soft girlhood. Yes, these girls have a lot of money, etc., but they must also carry the burden of being perfect and not doing things. I saw a clip of the Ellen show where Ellen asked if the twins were dating.
I don't know what you're talking about. My daughter's only 15.
They're not dating?
No, they're not. Not that they better not be dating right now.
They're 15. They've got to have boyfriends or girlfriends or something. That's an age you start like being interested.
I didn't know that.
How old were you when you first started getting interested in?
I was wild. I was different. I was from a whole nother time.
Yeah, I know. I know. That's what I'm saying.
Oh my God.
They're cheerleaders, right?
No, I really thought that they don't start dating till like 17, right? When do they start dating? Oh my God.
Like 14. They have to have boyfriends. Have you met them yet?
No, they don't have any boyfriends.
Well, you're confused now.
Yeah.
And yeah, I'm not saying that fathers don't like feel some jittery nervousness towards like males pursuing their daughters, but you would think that Diddy probably thought about the things he did, or just again how he didn't want his daughters to be involved in possibly men like him. Jessie, Delilah, and Chance, they got to engage in some things, but it still was this ongoing layer of what their father did, and people watching their family implode across major headlines. And more disturbingly, they're being expected to respond with dignity, maturity, and an unwavering calm. Developmentally, this is damaging. The American Psychological Association reports that adolescents who experience high stress public trauma without adequate support are more likely to develop anxiety disorders, PTSD, and depressive symptoms. Moreover, girls who lose their mothers or maternal figures often struggle with attachment, identity, and a sense of grounding. Kim Porter, the girl's mother, passed away in 2018, leaving a void that is undoubtedly being felt more now than ever, I presume. Their grief, interrupted and compounded by scandal, is not being tended to, it's being overshadowed. Kim Porter wasn't just their mom, she was the glue. A former model, actress, and businesswoman, Porter was known for her grounding presence, her spirituality, and her prioritization of her children. In interviews, she spoke openly about wanting her daughters to grow up empowered and proud of who they were. Without her, the girls are now navigating a minefield without a compass. Scholars have found that the presence of a maternal figure is critical to adolescent development, particularly for young Black girls. Porter was believed to keep Diddy on his toes, to balance the chaotic persona with structure. Her absence in this moment isn't just emotional, it's strategic. She would have been the buffer, the protector, the one to say enough. But now they're exposed and no one is shielding them. In my opinion, you could say the grandmother, but a lot of people have faulted her for a lot of the behavior Diddy has, so who knows? Nonetheless, in the court of public opinion, the Combs daughters have not only been dragged for their father's actions, they've been accused of riding the wave of nepotism and benefiting from the fame without talent. But these critiques are unfair and frankly gendered. Nepotism babies, especially white ones, are often criticized, don't get me wrong, but sometimes not to this extent. Consider the daughters of actors or politicians who go on to star in movies, launch makeup lines, or run influencer brands. Their critique, yes, the Combs daughters have faced a unique backlash fueled by racism and misogyny. In a 2023 Pew Research study, 61% of Black teen girls reported experiencing online harassment, compared to just 36% of their white counterparts. The study also found that Black girls who are publicly visible face more personal, racially charged, and gender-specific harassment. In this context, the cruelty they've received for simply existing online under their own names and legacies is part of a larger pattern of internet abuse against young Black women. And let's be clear, their father's crimes are not theirs to answer for. There's something particularly cruel in how society mirrors the sins of men onto their daughters. The idea that if your father was abusive, corrupt, or violent, you must share in that shame or be disloyal for not denouncing him fast enough. This is deeply gendered. Sons are often framed as carrying the name. Let's look at King Combs, for example. But daughters are made to carry the guilt. It is a form of patriarchal accountability that doesn't serve justice, it only punishes innocence. Feminist theorist Bell Hooks warned us of this when she wrote about how Black women are often made to carry the emotional weight of male failure in both private and public spaces. What's happening to the Combs daughter is a textbook example. They are punished for not speaking, punished if they do, damned if they're too close to their father, criticized if they step away. There is no right move when the world expects perfection from girls still learning who they are. The expectation that Black daughters will serve as symbols of their family's redemption is not new. From churches to courtrooms, Black girls have often been made to represent discipline, grace, and obedience. They are the face of, we're still good people, even when the home is burning down. According to Dr. Monique Morris, Black girls are often adultified in both media and institutions, treated as older, more responsible, and more resilient than they are. This results in less empathy, fewer interventions, and a disturbing tolerance for their suffering. What's happening to the Combs daughters reflects this. They're being read not as young adults who get to explore life, but as an extension of their father's legacy, both the good and the bad. They're not allowed to just be. Of course, celebrities make everything messier. The Combs daughters aren't just regular teens, they're brand extensions, publicity assets, names with followers and metrics and media contracts. Their grief, therefore, is not just personal, it's monetized. Every tear, every silence, every look, scrutinized by people who have no real investment in their well-being. Celebrity culture has always been cruel to young girls, but it is especially cruel to Black girls who don't fit the perfect victim mold. They are too pretty to be pitied, too rich to be human, and too Black to be fragile. And yet here they are, fragile, fractured, and expected to put on a brave face. It's critical to remember that Sean Diddy Combs is the one accused of wrongdoing, not his daughters. He alone should be examined, criticized, and held accountable.
Diddy's trial just started, and within minutes, his own daughters got up and walked out of the courtroom. And here's why. I'm going to avoid as many triggering words as I can so this does not get taken down. Here goes. So it starts with testimony from Daniel Phillip, a former escort who says Diddy paid him to be with Cassie while he watched from the corner. Yep, you heard that right. And as soon as the details got graphic, his daughters, all 18 and sitting next to his mother, got up and left the room. They came back, but the moment the testimony kept going, they dipped again. And that's just the beginning. Phillip also told the jury that he heard Diddy beating Cassie in the other room during one of these setups and dragging her by the hair for saying the words, "Hold on." And remember the elevator assault from 2016? Yep, that was shown to the jury too. The same video Diddy allegedly paid $100,000 to bury. The guard later testified that Diddy handed him a stack of cash topped with a $100 bill and said, "Take care of this and don't tell anyone." This was all on day one, and tomorrow Cassie herself is expected to take the stand as pregnant as she is after years of alleged physical, emotional, and psychological abuse. From courtroom walkouts to buried footage, this trial is unearthing everything. Follow now, because the next 48 hours could change it all.
I'm not gonna tell you no rebel lie. If I was Diddy, I wouldn't even phantom gave it an idea to have my young daughters to come to a trial where I am guilty of doing heinous things to fucking women. Nowhere in the world. I wouldn't even want my daughters to look at a man like that, let alone look at me as their father, being a man that's supposed to protect them and being a man that's supposed to stand up for women, come and see me, have to defend myself on the allegations that was made against me. Here's my thing, and the God honest truth. The only reason why them little girls showed up is because their daddy approved of it. On the other end too, because too many times we see people go to court and they use their families as props. They use their families as leverage to say, here I am a custodian father. Here I am, I'm a caring father, a doting father, and I take care of my children. On top of that, this is what gets me the most with fathers who's out here doing things that they don't supposed to be doing and holding around and being free and being pimps and acting like they got the game and going with it. You got to remember that you have daughters. You got to remember that your daughter could be a recipient of your bad behavior, and karma is a motherfucker. It may not come back to you, but it'll skip and go to your daughters. My thing is this with Diddy. Okay? You have one job to do, bruh, and that's to protect your daughters. And that's it. That's to protect your daughters. Stop being fucking selfish. Stop being selfish, because that's some selfish shit. And you know what? Them little girls did the right thing. And whoever told them to get up out that motherfucking courtroom, they shouldn't even been in that courtroom. And why would they even want to sit there and listen to some of the things that they fucking dad do? But here's the thing about it is, it's on social media. It ain't no fucking secret. They know how their daddy locked up. And I'm quite sure he didn't give them a whole motherfucking story. You know what I'm saying? I'm quite sure he didn't lay out a fucking facade, or he didn't fabricate a fucking story, because he do got a facade, but don't worry about that. He didn't fabricate a fucking story. Oh, dad not that type of person. You're not. I'm done.
Diddy's twin teenage daughters had to sit in the court today and listen to a male escort talk about how their father ordered him to urinate in Cassie's. Why are they there? I understand that they want to show like he's a great father, he's all these great things, but they are traumatizing these teenage girls. These girls are still teenagers. They are traumatizing these teenage girls, having them sit in this courtroom and listen to all of this stuff. On top of the fact, the first witness, Mr. Flores, got up there and he talked about how he was a security guard at the Intercontinental Hotel in LA. And they showed the video, the other videos that we didn't see from CNN, from the hotel, because there was also another Wild Kings night at the hotel. So it's like, why are they subjecting the kids to this? Like, do y'all feel like the girls should be there during this trial, or do y'all feel like they should be at home with their guardian? I feel like they should be at home with their guardian. But y'all tell me what y'all think in the comments.
So everybody's talking a lot about the Diddy trial this morning. And I saw an image yesterday that really disturbed me. I saw the image of his three daughters, Delilah, Jessie, and Chance, leaving the courthouse because they attended day one of the trial. And I asked myself, both as a lawyer but as a mother, why would this happen? I just thought about the fact that that's the first time I've called myself a mother. We're going to keep moving past that. As a lawyer, I can understand why they were there. As a lawyer for the defense, I can absolutely understand why you would want your client, who is criminally charged with being the head of a enterprise that facilitated the illegal trafficking, sexual assault, sexual exploitation, drugging of women and men, but mostly young women in particular, why you would want to portray yourself as a father and particularly as a girl dad, and why you would want your daughters to be there in particular. Because I didn't see any pictures of Quincy, Christian, or Justin there. So as a lawyer, that makes sense. You know, the optics of it makes sense. The strategy behind that makes sense. As a parent, I don't understand why you would subject your daughters to that. Your daughters are going to sit in this courtroom and they are going to hear some of the most horrific things about you that's ever been said. And it is different from media reports. It's different to sit in a courtroom and see witness after witness and document after document be brought in as evidence against you. And for them to hear it as it is being presented by the prosecution, who is trying to make a case to convict you, that is a very different experience. And there is no benefit to your daughters experiencing that. Not your 18, 19-year-old daughters. There is no benefit to them hearing in gross and painstaking detail what it is you are accused to have done to people in sort of perpetrating this criminal enterprise as you have alleged to have done. There's no benefit to them hearing that. And as a parent, I would never subject my children to that. And that helps me understand more about who Diddy is. Because there's no way that his daughters are in that courtroom without his consent. Not the type of man that he is, not the type of controlling type of person that he is. If he had said to his daughters, I do not want you in this courtroom. Do not show up to this trial. I know that you love me. I know that you support me. I feel that, but I do not want you here. They would not be there. Those young girls would not be there. That you can't convince me they would defy. I'm 40 something years old. And if my daddy told me not to come someplace, I'm just not coming, as much as I might want to be there. And so, and I have a very healthy relationship with my father. They are there because he has asked them to be there. They are there because he expects them to be there. And they are there only in service to a narrative that benefits them. And they are there and going to be traumatized for his benefit. And if you knew nothing else about Diddy, if you knew nothing else about the allegations that are beset before him and that are out there about him, and that the federal, prosecutors from the Southern District of New York are trying to prove during this case, that would be all I would need to know, honestly. Because as a parent, my whole existence is about the protection of my children, to my detriment. I don't understand this.
My thoughts on Diddy kids leaving court, to me, it's a bunch of bullshit and fake activism. Oh, the kids. Oh, the kids. All of them are over the age of 18 minus one of them. They're smart enough to use deductive reasoning. They're smart enough to capitalize on that TikTok account, though. Y'all need to stop. They need to hear. They need to hear what happened. They need to hear what not to do. They need to be made an example of, so they know that this is not a relationship. This is not loving. This is not what that is. But y'all are going to go ahead and say, oh, poor children. Meanwhile, what about the damn victims? What about them? The Free Diddy, we support our father, when all this information is coming out. Who's held accountable for that? The adults that were in their lives didn't step in and say, look, I don't think y'all should post this. Nobody said nothing. They should get it. They should sit there and hear exactly what is happening. Y'all are on that bullshit once again.
Shifting the cultural microscope onto the girls only dilutes the seriousness of the charges and unfairly redirects blame. Accountability means centering the actions of the adult men involved, not punishing the children caught in the blast radius of these decisions. Jesse, Delilah, and Chance Combs didn't ask for this life. They didn't choose their last name, the spotlight, or the scandal. What they deserved was a childhood, a mother, a father whose legacy didn't destroy their peace. What they deserve now is compassion, therapy, and protection, not public drag and online harassment. We owe it to Black girls, famous or not, to stop treating them as emotional mules, to stop making them atone for their fathers, and to start asking the real questions about who benefits when Black girlhood is destroyed in plain sight. So the last question I have for you today is, when will we let Black girls be children instead of survivors? That's all I have to say about this topic. Let me know what you think down below. And thank you so much for listening to Books and Looks TV. I'll see you next time.